Look at that. So good to see everybody. Oh, excited. I think
Good morning.
a lot of people knew who was coming today and they didn't want to miss this one for sure. Hi, Kimberly.
Hey, Jennifer, good to see you. Hi, Kimberly.
Hey, Jennifer
Good morning. Good
Birdsong.
morning.
Yeah. Hello, Missy.
Good
Hi,
morning.
Missy.
Good morning.
Oh, wonderful. So good to see everybody.
Hey, Scott, good to see you. Jim, what's up, dude? Look it, we matched today.
I didn't notice your goatee and stuff there.
I know.
Did it just for Jim. So, Jim, do I still look marvelous?
You always look marvelous.
I needed a good laugh today, so I thought I'd, mix it up a little bit and not shave. Not shave, right? Hi, Rebecca. Lena, how are you?
Kadir. Hiya.
Hiya, what's up, dude?
Aaron.
How are you guys?
You too.
Wonderful.
Good seeing you
So
guys.
next week, you guys got to wear red lipstick, and then we're a team. See you, Scott.
Hi, Rebecca.
Can I just go with eyelashes instead?
Sure.
Okay.
You can do that. You can teach us all that because those things are so hard to put on.
I see Eric is on the move. I bet he's going to get something, right?
Scott is.
So do we have any?
Hi, Karen.
Do we have any great drone stories to kick us off while we're waiting to open up and get the ball rolling? Who's out flying? Somebody's got to be out flying. I know they're out flying.
Oh, it's
Eric.
too cold. It's too cold in Philadelphia.
Oh, gotcha.
A quick drone story.
Okay.
I last week I was working with the largest solar field in Nevada, and so hotel stays and early morning departures. And last week in Vegas, every morning it was 28 to 32 degrees. And my first day out, San Diego. Yeah, I know. San Diego guy. My first day out, I'm fine, but I made the catastrophic error of not pre-warming my batteries.
Oh no.
And I'm down there and so the sun's coming up and I'm like, I got to do this solar. I start my car and I got all my batteries and I'm running the heater. But for the rest of the week, I would wake up an hour early and I had a big cardboard box and I'd put the cardboard box right in front of the hotel heater and I pre-warm all my batteries so I'd have enough to get going by the time the sun came up. Yeah, it was cold.
Hot tip. So how us East Coast girls do it, I don't know about the boys, but if you ever saw Superstar, we just put those batteries underneath our armpits.
Superstar.
But really, you can put it underneath your coat and keep it warm underneath there with the smaller batteries, of course. But I haven't done that because those batteries go faster when it's cold too.
Yeah. Well, the good part about it is
Put one
that,
in, you fly it around, and then it's time it's like whoop.
and if you do that when you're done flying, they're warm and then they warm you.
That's right.
Oh, there you go.
I don't know how good it is for our lymph nodes, but
That's right.
Yeah. So I've actually seen where the cold battery has malfunctioned the drones. Where being too cold, the drone just had a brain of its own and took off, went up, and dropped from the sky. So definitely a really good tip. You do need to.
Was that an Inspire that did that, Desi?
No, actually, Inspires have self-heating batteries. It was an
Not the new
hotel.
ones, not the old ones.
No, Inspire ones do not.
Yeah, the Inspire ones don't. Yeah, that's why I was wondering.
I was focused on it
A
too.
lot of problems and they're so exposed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they've been really a challenge. But anyway.
So, all right. I've been trying to give it a few minutes to let people jump in here because I know a lot of people are excited to hear from our spotlight speaker today.
Oh yeah, we got Chula Vista here.
Yes. And I want to do a big shout out to Tani because we could not have made this happen if it wasn't for you, Tani. So yes.
Oh, no, I'm as excited as everybody else.
Thank you,
So I'm glad it
Tani.
worked out. No,
Yep.
thank you, Lieutenant Fox, for making the time for us. It's awesome.
Yes, yes. So thank you. And I do want to go ahead and segue over and introduce our speaker. We're super excited to have Lieutenant Miriam Foxx here with us. Yes, she is with the Chula Vista PD. And so I'm going to go ahead and make you our spotlight speaker for the day. And if you could just start by maybe sharing with us how you got started. And I know you have a presentation that you're going to provide as well. All right, you're on.
Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
First of all, thank you so much to Desi and Kim for allowing me to talk about our program. You know, we're very passionate about our Drone as a First Responder program. And thank you, Tani, for who we work with in partnership with Flying Lion, who helps support our program. So thank you. We really appreciate, I appreciate, I'm excited. A little about myself. I'm a lieutenant here at the Chula Vista Police Department. I've been in the department about 23 years. I've been in a varied assignments. Right now, I'm the Strategic Operations Lieutenant who's over our UAS program and other duties assigned. Prior to that, I was the Criminal Investigations Division Lieutenant. And then before that, I was the Internal Affairs Lieutenant. So I'm excited. This is, I've only been in my position since March, myself and my sergeant. So we're fairly new, really excited, learning a lot. Did go through and get my Part 107 license, so that was exciting. And I was like, wow, we had no idea how much it goes into it. So a lot of respect for drone programs and, you know, all the things that go into it. Prior to the Chula Vista Police Department, I was in the United States Navy, active duty and reserves. I retired out of the reserves after 22 years as a lieutenant. So I'm just really excited, and I will start my presentation. I think what we're going to do, Desi and Kim, is hold questions to the end, and then I'll do my presentation. And if there's any questions, feel free to ask.
Okay, perfect. And you can pop the questions into our chat as well. And then we'll circle back to them if anybody has any questions.
Okay, can everyone still see my screen?
It's perfect.
All right, well, again, good morning. My name is Miriam Foxx. I'm going to go over the Chula Vista Police Department's Drone as a First Responder program. We like to consider it the future of public safety because we really do feel this is the future. Utilizing technology for good and being able to provide a service, but in a different way to the community. I'm going to show you a quick little video that was done on our program to kind of give you a little bit of overview.
Everybody wants de-escalation. It's not just a buzzword anymore. It's become a part of our everyday vocabulary. Everybody wants it to be safer. Everybody wants everybody to survive and live another day. Our Drone as a First Responder program is, in my opinion, the #1 tool for de-escalation that we have.
So for our priority 1 calls for service, from the moment we receive the 911 call to the moment the drone is overhead is about 2.5 minutes. As the officers are responding to this call, the drone's already been overhead for about 3 minutes, and the teleoperator has been relaying information to the responding officers in real time.
Having a tool that gives us the ability to get to the scene as quickly as possible is critical, because when you are able to provide your officers with real-time information, they can make better informed decisions.
There's no other source of information you can give me that would be better than a live video feed on what you're about to walk into. So in terms of de-escalation, it gives us a couple of extra moments to look at a situation and find out, are they armed? Are they not armed? Do they need our help? Do they not? And that's invaluable.
When that officer makes their final turn onto that call for service, they have every bit of information that they need to be successful and resolve that situation in a calm and safe, peaceful manner.
The last thing we want to have to do is use any level of force. If we can de-escalate and we can use these drones to give our officers better information, it just makes no sense not to use it.
So just a quick overview about our program. Our program would not have the success it has or the support it has without our Chief of Police, Chief Roxana Kennedy. She really has been on the forefront of helping us push and support us through our program while we started it up a few years ago. So it's really important to have that support from your chain of command, and we're pretty lucky and blessed. So a little about Chula Vista. We're located down in San Diego County, right by the border. Our southernmost edge of our city is about 7 miles from the U.S.-Mexico border. We're the second largest city in the county. We have a population of 270,000 and growing. Our eastern part of the city is actually still developing. We have a lot of new development, new homes, new residential is diversity going in. So we have a lot of room for growth. We're about 52 square miles. Right now we're authorized, actually that's been updated, we're authorized 281 sworn because of the growth. We don't have a helicopter unit. What we use, and we have a good partnership with San Diego County Sheriffs and San Diego Police Department, their helicopter units. Many times we'll actually have our DFR, our drone up in conjunction with San Diego PD or San Diego Sheriff's helicopter at the same time. Obviously we'll stay below 400 and they could be above us, and we've been several long type of like vehicle pursuits. And so we have a really, really good working relationship with them. Most of our city, I'd say about 98% of our city is Class G airspace, so we're pretty lucky. The southern edge of our city, we have a military base that's close by, and Brownfield, that's 2 areas that are controlled airspace. So our agency doesn't just offer a drones of first responder program. We also have a tactical, what we call our field deployment. So we have about 21 pilots in the field. They're all Part 107. Actually, everyone from our captain on down are Part 107 certified. So we utilize our field pilots to do mapping and diagramming. If we have a fatal collision or a major crime scene, we'll use the drones to 3D map crime scenes. We also utilize the indoor if we have a barricaded subject or any type of situation, even clearing a large like warehouse building, we'll use our drones indoor. We are looking at options towards for tethered drones. We do have an open air concert venue. So we are looking at for something like that. And then obviously our DFR program. So how we got our program started, in 2017, then President Trump signed a directive for the UAS integration pilot program. The city of San Diego was one of the cities that joined into the IPP, and we were the police agency that jumped on that with the city of San Diego. We were actually the only police agency that jumped on that. So we kind of got our foot in the door first when it came to utilizing drones. So these were all the IPP partners at the time. As you know, IPP has ended and now it's the Beyond program. But we were, again, really lucky to get in early. And that's kind of like, this is like the beginning of how our DFR program was born. So according to surveys conducted by the PERF, Police Executive Research Forum, the most significant concern about drones expressed by the community members is that of privacy. Agencies should make strong efforts to educate the community about drone policies, especially those involving the use of cameras. So we have, when we started our program back in early mid-October of mid-2018, we did a lot of front-end outreach to the community. We did presentations at our city council meetings. We did some community forums. We wanted the community to understand and know what we were planning to do, what we wanted to do, and also wanted to get their input. We had a lot of good support and good feedback from the community. As we fly, and I'll show that later on, we do put some extra measures in to make sure that the community's concerns about privacy are addressed. But we still we continue to make sure the community knows what we're doing. It's all about transparency and especially with law enforcement agencies. It's not something that we want to hide. This is just a tool that's just to help us do our jobs better. So obviously, again, we want to engage our stakeholders, making sure we also met with ACLU, all the civil rights groups at that time when we first started our program, to make sure we can answer their questions, they can understand what we were doing, what we were trying to do. We understand in today's world, law enforcement is being tasked with doing our job a little bit different, finding different ways, more innovative strategies to where if we don't have to necessarily contact the community, if we have a call for service, if we can clear that call without necessarily contacting the person that is, apparently involved in the situation, then we want to do that. We understand the community may not necessarily be comfortable talking with law enforcement, comfortable talking with officers. So this is just another way where we can provide that same service without, and hopefully still keeping our community comfortable. So what we have, we work in partnership with Mobile Solutions and Air Data. We actually post all of our flights on our website. So if you Google Chula Vista drone, you'll see the link for all of our historical data flights. So each of our flights, we post the date, the time, we reference the incident number, the location, and the summary of the call. We do get a lot of calls from the community that, oh, there's a drone over my house. You guys are looking at my kids in the backyard as they're playing. And we'll actually tell them, hey, here's the website. Can you look at it? And then we'll explain to them, actually, we were actually looking 3 blocks away at a domestic violence incident. We actually weren't looking in your backyard. And then we explain to the community, this is what we're doing. And if you have any questions about drones or what the Chula Vista Police Department is doing, you can look on our website and see exactly why we flew to that call. We also make it a point to explain this is not a surveillance tool. We only fly to calls for service. So if someone dials 911, there's an issue, a concern, someone with a knife or someone with a gun, that's the only time we're going to call. We're not just randomly flying our drones in the air looking for things to do. We do have plenty of calls for service, plenty of 911 calls to address and respond to. So this is what we feel is a great tool. It helps with the community concerns as far as their privacy. So our Drones Are First Responder program, this is we have 2 full-time pilots, drone pilots. They're actually sworn officers. This is Officer Kyle Roberts flying here. And so we provide our Drone as a First Responder program 7 days a week, 10 hours a day. And they split the week. And basically we just butt up to sunset. Our goal is to expand the program to nighttime ops into more of like a day watch and a evening watch type thing. But we are still looking at how we're going to do that with staffing, because obviously with the nighttime and our COA with the FAA, we'd have to provide an additional person on the route. So currently with our DFR program, we have our teleoperator, as you see here, Officer Roberts and the teleoperator in the DFR room. And we also partner with Tawny's company, Flying Lion, and they provide the piloting command. Through our COA, the FAA knows we have our teleoperator, but they only recognize the piloting command on the roof for the airspace awareness and visualization, and to be able to take control of the drone if need be. For our nighttime operations, we would have to provide an additional person on the roof, and obviously there's the cost to that. So we haven't expanded to nighttime operations, but that's our future goal. So the drone is prepared to respond immediately to any emergency within the geofence flight area. Our COA only covers the city of Chula Vista, so that's where we would respond to, only the city of Chula Vista. We do get mutual aid requests for outside the city, and sometimes we can respond as long as we're within our city, and if it's like right on the border of Chula Vista and like our neighboring city, National City. Some of the jurisdictional lines kind of bleed into our city, and then we do assist. Some of our field pilots will go to neighboring cities and fly under Part 107 to assist any neighboring agency. But most of the agencies in our county all have some sort of UAS program. So we don't get a lot of mutual aid requests, but sometimes we do get some calls. Again, it's operated, drone's operated by a remotely by a teleoperator. It's a sworn. We feel it's important to have a sworn officer who understands the importance of the calls. Our teleoperators respond, they pick and choose which calls they're going to respond to. A lot of times we do get calls of, oh, there's someone suspicious walking down the street talking to themselves. Our drone operator will respond to that call, and just because someone's talking to themselves doesn't mean it's a crime. We'll actually clear the call with the drone without actually having to send officers. And again, we understand the team doesn't really want the officers to interact with them as much as we used to or in the past. So if we can avoid someone having to talk to an officer when they're not comfortable or maybe they have concerns, then we can clear the call and just continue on to more important calls. For flight safety, we ensure by automation, geofencing. We have a VO at each launch site. We call them the pilots in command. That's our partnership with Flying Lion. Our radius, we have the beyond visual line of sight, 3 nautical miles. The teleoperator again can choose to launch from each site closest to the incident. So right now we have 4 launch locations in our city. We fly from here at the police department, a site just south of us, and it's a psych hospital. One of the hotels on our eastern location, and Sharp Hospital, another location down south. So this pretty much gives us almost 100% citywide coverage. So the importance with our teleoperators, they have a setup, it's kind of like a dispatcher setup. They have a headset, they use a foot pedal to dispatch on the air, and they can actually direct ground units in on a call, depending on what's going on. So we feel it's important to have a sworn officer there to assist. All the officers have the access to the live footage. And that was another important piece. Having this program is great, but if our officers, our supervisors and managers that are in patrol or in the field, if they can't view it, then it's not necessarily going to be as valuable of a tool. This way, the officers get a pop-up when there's an available flight. They can click on the link and they can see the footage, see what's going on, and this will help them be able to make a better informed plan. It's safer for our community, it's safer for our officers. So we can video stream up to 50 mobile devices at one time. The highest I've seen is about 25 when we've had a pursuit that's been throughout the whole county. So again, we started our operations October of 2018, but we really had the program a year before that. There was a lot of planning, a lot of what are we going to do. This program was the brainchild of, and many of you may know from Skydio, Captain Fritz Reber, retired Captain Fritz Reber, and from Axon, retired Captain Vern Salee. They really did come up with this program. Fritz really came up with the program, thought about it, and it was just something that was in his head, and it came basically from them. And we just started, having meetings, talking about how this program can be developed, what we could do, how we could provide this service, and also be safe and, and work through the FAA, work with the FAA to get the approval to do this. So we consider this, again, all of our teleoperators are Part 107. We consider them flying from a remote cockpit. Each launch location, we consider that jumping in the cockpit. It's automation of flight controls, camera controls, geofencing, flight tracking, and telemetry. So the actual streaming service we use is Motorola Cape. That's the service we use to fly, operate the drone, and in addition, stream it to the officers. In addition to using Motorola Cape, we also utilize Live 911, which has really changed how our officers are responding to calls. So Live 911 is our dispatcher gets all 911 calls. Live 911 splits the calls off into a separate view to where the officers are able to listen in on the 911 calls. And this has been a game changer for our program because our teleoperator could hear a live 911 and the call taker is taking the call, typing in the call, the dispatcher sees the call, reads it, then dispatches it. Well, our drone operator is already flying to the location. So it is saving time. We're able to get on scene on those hot calls, those really high priority calls faster. In addition, the officers have access to this. So they're able to hear the critical information. Oh, it's a person with a gun. The officer's getting there quickly. Oh, and then you know what? It looks like it's a toy. So many of you are aware of the Tamir Rice shooting in Cleveland, Ohio, a couple of years back, where the caller had said, hey, it looks like it's a kid. He's in this park. He has a gun. It may be a BB gun. It may be a toy. Well, that information wasn't relayed to the officers. All they got was that the subject with a gun in the park and waving at people. Well, when the officers got there, unfortunately, there was a use of force and an officer involved shooting. And unfortunately, the juvenile did not make it. He was deceased as a result of the OIS. But having that information, hearing everything that the caller is saying, just only helps our officers make a better informed decision, which is better for the community, better for our officers, and which is what we all want. So we, in conjunction with our DFR program, we use Live 911 to be able to, again, respond to those calls. So this is a video of an actual call we had back in June. I think it's June, July. And so this is a call of a person with a gun, and this is our local marina. So I'm just going to play this. So the initial call is a red car at our marina with a person with a gun waving it around. So we got lucky because it looks like to be, this is the only red car at the marina. So as our DFR pilot's overhead, he is relaying information to ground units. This marina is only one way in, which is the road to the left. He actually tells the officers, hold on, let me get a good view before you guys come in and just, have to deal with this. Let me see what's going on first. So the officers are actually nearby, but they're standing by for the footage. So our pilot's trying to get the plate information to relay dispatch. And as he's backing up, he realizes, there's someone with a gun. So puts this information out to the ground units so they can make a better informed approach, or they can make a coordinated response. It actually surprised him. I was working at the time. I was surprised to see that there was a gun in this person's hand. So it matched what the 911 calls that we were getting. It matched the information, matched the description. So again, our officers are watching this footage. Our supervisors and managers are watching this footage. Our operator is now giving the officers direction, and they're having so they can make their response into the marina area and have it coordinated so we can hopefully have a safe resolution. So as you can see, the officers are able to come in and they are addressing the occupants in the vehicle. Now, had we not had the drone footage, this could have ended up to be like a really bad situation where we've gotten hurt. And that's obviously never what we never want, that type of thing. So to address the occupants, we know exactly who had the gun last based on the video footage, where that person was. So they take everyone, they get everyone out safely. The officers go in the vehicle and retrieve the weapon. At the end of the story, at the end of the day, this ended up being a BB gun. But the weapon, it looks real. It looks real. And in a split-second situation, if an officer is responding to a call, not having the whole story, it really could end differently. And that's definitely not what we want to do. Our officers don't want to have to use any type of force. So this is a success story. So our next call, sometimes we do have a lot of a person with a gun, person with fighting. We also have calls that are community care situations. This call was in our eastern part of the city. A mother who had a high functioning autistic, somewhat functioning autistic son who happened to jump out of her vehicle, and they live about 2.5 miles from here, and he just ran. She didn't know where he was at. Our operator was able to locate the child based on her description, and the child was just in and out of traffic. This is in the afternoon. This is a busy complex, a busy shopping center, and a busy car wash. And so we were able to locate the child. Now, units were over by the home thinking the child was near there. and had to be directed to this area where we believe the child was. Just calls like this, missing persons, we utilize the drone a lot for missing person calls. We have an elderly community. And so this is our program is very helpful to where we can quickly find someone. So again, our units were actually near the home, thinking the child was still there. When we located the child, like I said, about 2.5 miles away from his home. This could have been, a different result. We were very blessed and very lucky that they were able to get eyes on him there, and units were en route quickly to try to get to him. And we'll just advance. So basically, he is running in and out of traffic. Could be a different situation depending on his actions. Again, this is a busy car wash, one of our busiest car washes in the city. So I'll just fast forward the show. Again, we're just keeping eyes on. So our teleoperator is directing the units as they are responding. And you'll see our unit right here, who happened to rush over from the other area where we thought he may have been. Was able to turn into this intersection, block off traffic. We obviously were concerned about him getting hit by a vehicle, not even noticing that a child was running in and out of the street. And again, the officer, she was able to talk to him, and we got him reunited with his mother. So these type of cases, these are the things that we're like, okay, we're happy that this ended like it did. The child wasn't hurt. He was able to get reunited with his mother. So the important thing that we love about our program is that it's all about the response times, being able to get to that emergency as quickly as possible. And this was on average, just 2021, but on average, we're about 3 minutes with the drone to get on scene, and about 6 minutes with ground units. So we're almost able to cut that response time in half. Priority 1 calls are like life-threatening calls, priority 2 calls are just below that. And so we're able to beat ground units. Obviously, we don't have to worry about traffic lights or traffic congestion, and we have a huge population in our city. So this is really important that we're able to get there, get to that emergency, get to those that need help. We respond to a lot of traffic collisions. Our fire department has access to our live stream footage. Many times we'll respond to a collision, car fire, house fire, and we're able to switch to thermo, provide fire department that critical information they need so they can tailor their response to the calls. So as of yesterday, we are at 9,000 calls that we've responded to. 2,300 of those calls we've actually dispatched our DFR program. We didn't even have to send a patrol unit. And that's important because now those units can go to the really important calls, the ones where they are really needed and people need their help, need our assistance. So we are really proud of that. And we love our program. We love the fact that we're there to provide, again, an alternative, serve a different way an innovative way of providing that care and service to our community. So what's next? Obviously, we know the sense of a void is going to be coming online, the remote ID, the increased flight automation, integration with our computer-aided dispatch. In our minds, where my Captain Don Remen, his future goal is to be able to put our launch locations at every fire station in the city. As you know, every fire station is strategically placed for response times and calls for service. So we could put a drone in a box solution at every fire station in the city. And as the priority 1 or priority 2 call happens, our teleoperator would be like, oh, there's a call. When we hit fire station 2, that drone launches, heads towards that area, and the teleoperator takes over and starts, directing ground units in. That would be our, that's what we would love to go. We know it's going to happen. It's going to get there. We know a lot of companies are working on a in a box solution. We love working with Flying Lion, Tony. We love working with you guys. We do want to get rid of you from our roofs because it is expensive. So again, having that drone in the box solution, that is something that we are looking forward to. That is the end of my presentation. My email is on the screen. If you have any questions, you can feel free to email me. And I'm here for any questions.
Well, that was fantastic. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. And your presentation actually had addressed many of the questions as I was going through. Whoop. And so I'm going to unmute. Sorry. There we go. Thank you. And so I know there's a lot of questions that are popping up into our chat, and everybody's just amazed with the technology and how forward thinking that Chula Vista is. And so it's very, very exciting. And I liked that you had summarized, how many calls that are out there, and the response time is phenomenal. And so it's very, very valuable tool. So I was curious. I know we're going to be getting a lot of the questions popping up into our chat, but I was curious about the training involved, because it beyond obviously the becoming a certified remote pilot and the flight side of things, but what about just learning the CAPE technology and then the live 911 live? And so there's going to be a lot of training just on that side of things.
So with live 911, it's really easy. If you have time, I could share you my screen, how it looks to us here in the field. And so I'll share my screen really quickly.
Okay.
Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is live 911. Basically, when a 911 call comes in, this is how the officers see it in their patrol cars. It lists it right here, and it shows the address. Now, right now we don't have any 911 calls, which is good. It's a good thing. But it will list it here. It shows the address. It'll show the actual location of the caller within 2 feet. It's basically the same technology that Uber uses, where they can tell, okay, what side of the corner you are, exactly where you want to be picked up. It's the same technology. And on the right here, you could see the officers that are logged into the system. 242 John. This is a Sam here, 220 Sam. This is the dispatcher. So I'm logged in, and you can set your radius as to what 911 calls you want to hear. And so I set it for the entire city because I want to hear everything that's going on. Our officers, where their actual vehicle is moving within a 2-mile radius, or they can set it for their assigned beat or assigned sector. So wherever they're driving, if they have it set to a mile near them, they can look and go, oh, there's a 911 call. Oh, I'm right there. I'm on the call. In addition, we can mute the call as they come in. So if you don't want to hear every single 911 call that comes in, because unfortunately we do get a lot of, hey, I need help with this issue that's really not a 911 call. We get a lot of those. So you can mute it. And what the system, what we have it set up is that any 911 call from a school campus in our city will automatically unmute everybody, because we do have the concern of a potential school shooting. So thank God we've been blessed. We haven't had that, but the system is set up like this. So this is how it looks. It's pretty easy to use. We give our patrol officers roll call training. It takes about 5 minutes in roll call, and that's it for the live 911. For our CAPE software, all of our UAS pilots, we have about 21 part-time pilots they work in other divisions and other units, but they also fly for us. They are also trained in DFR. I'm trained in DFR myself. Utilizing CAPE, you can probably get training in the CAPE software, maybe a couple of hours in DFR. We also, let's say we fly one of our advanced in the field, we can also fly the advanced through the CAPE software. so that the officers can see what the field pilot is flying and what they're showing as well. So maybe a couple of hours is just going through and the repetition, but it's fairly easy.
Awesome, awesome. And when you're discussing when they're up there flying, and just exactly what drones are you using, and the camera system that you're using?
So for our DFR program, we have the Matrice 300. We can't seem to find anything better. That's pretty awesome. For the camera, we're using the H20T Zen Muse camera. Great camera. So that's what we're using for DFR. For our field deployments, we do have some minis, the Advanced, Enterprise. Those are pretty much the ones that we use mostly.
Awesome, awesome. So we do have a lot of conversation popping up into our chat here. I'm going to actually ask Haya if he would like to unmute. He's asked several questions on here, and they're all really, really good questions. And so Haya, would you like to unmute and ask your questions?
Sure. I think
Hi.
you guys should be able to hear me now. Hi, how are you? Thank you so much for the presentation. I think it is amazing to see how drones can be used in this way. And I think it's very impressive what you guys are doing in Chula Vista. My first question was, are there any other police departments in the United States that use drones in similar ways as you guys do? Are you so far ahead of the pack at this point?
We were, but now we consider like our sister agency, Brookhaven Police Department in Brookhaven, Georgia, has a DFR program. They actually came and toured our operation. Their Lieutenant Ava Manaya, we work pretty closely with him. They have it set up pretty much the same as us, and they are up and running right now. Police Department is also up and running. And there are a couple of other agencies in California that are just about up and running. I know Connie, I think Flying Line works for Redondo Beach. So they're up on certain days of the week, their DFR program. So there are some other agencies.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine if any other police department would see your presentation and listen to your story and see the results, they would probably get excited immediately. Yeah. Another question I had is, what are the future plans for the Chula Vista Police Department's drone program, like for the next 2-3 years out?
Well, we're kind of waiting for the technology to catch up, to be honest with you. Again, we would love to put a drone in the box solution on every fire station. And just be able to have that option to where the teleoperator, and it works in conjunction with our CAD, a computer aided dispatch. So 911 call comes in, it's near fire station 2. The operator goes up, my headset's on, my headset's on, hits the drone, responds to that, bad accident, traffic, and is able to manipulate the drone, still fly the drone, and provide that information to the ground units responding. But being able to have that drone in the box solution, we want the drone in the box to, change the batteries, do a quick functions check, it needs to be done, keep it, weather tight, protected from the elements. So we have a lot of issues for us. There's a lot of heat issues, batteries overheating, the iPads overheating. And so, having something that's, protected from the elements, but ready to fly at a moment's notice.
Yeah,
that's what we're waiting on.
But so you're talking about a drone in the box solution where there's not even a pilot present from the launch location of the drone, like a fully autonomous drone that can be flown remotely.
Correct.
Yeah. Do you need the drone rules to change as well from the FAA in order to do that?
Absolutely. We think the FAA is going to be comfortable with that as well. We would have to update our COA, to match that. But we think they're getting there with the remote ID coming online. I think it's going to happen. It's just going to, the FAA has done so much so far, and we all know that it's tough. They, in their mind, they see the 300 as a Boeing 747, and it's, it's this huge 747 when in our minds, we know what it is. So I think it's a process, and the fact that they've allowed our agency and other agencies to have beyond the line of sight and do things that we are doing through our COAs. I think it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I think it's totally amazing. I mean, I have a whole list of questions. Uh,
Okay, hold on. I have one myself.
Sure, go ahead.
So, I'm very familiar with Flying Lion, and I kind of wanted to actually direct this one a little bit looping in Tawny, because I'd like to get maybe a little bit of that perspective of being on that rooftop. What's it like to be the pilot up there? How many pilots do you actually have on the rooftop? And how many drones? Are they just sitting there in a line ready to deploy?
Yeah, no, those are all great questions, Dizzy. Thank you. So each rooftop, as Lieutenant Foxx was pointing out, is manned, but we only have a single RPIC on every rooftop, actually maintaining, launching, and monitoring the drone during all of the flights, and then even in between the flights. So although, the teleoperator, the officer that's dispatching the calls, is in control of the ultimate, location, what they're focusing on, making sure that the drone maintains its focus on the site of the call. It's really important that remote pilot on the roof is paying attention to the drone to make sure that it remains connected, that the officers have good connectivity, that there's good video speed. We're watching all of the things that the officers are not. So we only have one single drone at this point, although the department does have waivers in place so that we're working up to having 2 UAS per RPIC, which is something that I don't think anyone else is doing right now. I think that's unique to Chula Vista. So it's a kind of a cool thing. That would allow an individual pilot to be able to relay drones. Right now, we do have the issue of, battery life is battery life. So you have a call, if it's an ongoing situation, the battery is low, we either have to launch from a second location to get coverage full time, or we got to bring it back and then relaunch. And it never fails that the key moment that everyone's waiting to happen, to see, always happens when the battery is needing to be changed and we have to pull the drone off. So it's an interesting setup. What we do have is a whole lot of batteries, right? Because we've got to cool them off. We got a case of batteries. We got to swap them out, do a hot swap as quickly as possible, and then relaunch. So it's exciting. Obviously, when there's calls, you do learn a lot. As the pilots coming in, working through the system to make sure that we can collaborate and support the officers as best we can.
And it's funny because Missy had asked that about that battery swap. So I think you addressed that one pretty well. So we do have some other questions, and thank you for putting in your contact information in there, Miriam. And so a couple other questions. I know Haya had another one as far as regarding drone incidences. How many drone incidences have you had, and how are they handled?
Drone incidences. So we've had 2, and it was before I joined the program. I joined the program in March of last year, but it was the 210s, and one of our 210, Tony, I don't know if you were working that day or not.
No, I wasn't.
So one of our 210s basically fell out of the sky, right near, it was right above the police department. It launched from here and fell and just right over by where the detectives were having lunch. In fact, my sergeant, who was a detective at that time, he was literally having lunch when it fell out of the sky. So we sent that in, we reported it to the FAA. We sent that in to DJI. They actually sent us a replacement 210. And then within a couple of weeks after that, went back to 210 fell out of the sky. And that was literally in the intersection right in front of the police department. So after that, we stopped using the 210s because that was too many for us. One, too many. So after that, we immediately started using the 300s, and we've been using the 300s ever since.
Do you know what the cause for the failure was for the drone? Was it related to the battery?
It was the motor.
The motor.
Yeah.
Haya, you also asked
The second
about
one
the
that
parachute.
I'm sorry, the second one that fell was actually the replacement to the other one. So
Yikes. The follow-up question I had was, are the drones outfitted with parachute systems? Because the Mavic Mini is not so bad falling out of the sky perhaps, but a Matrice 300 is a little different, of course.
we actually just ordered the ADSS parachutes. and working through getting all the firmware updated because we just got them and working through getting those updated so we can put them on. Yes.
Nice.
Awesome. And Kim, you had a question about checking them out. You want to share your question?
Yeah, like I noticed that it didn't seem like the people that you were surveilling or checking out that they were aware that you were. So I mean, how high are you flying? Obviously you're zooming in, but what kind of altitude are you holding it? Because it's a big drone and it can be heard.
Absolutely. So we're usually around 280-ish, 280-ish, obviously Mach 400, but we're usually at 280, maybe a little bit higher than that. At times, our DFR pilots lower so that, oh, sorry. That's one of my 911 calls coming in. So that's how a lot of 911 comes in. Sorry. But yeah, sometimes our DFR pilots will lower if we want the person.
Okay.
We'll lower a little bit just so because we know, but we have some power lines on the west side of the city. So we definitely, and it's all geo-fed, so we can't go down a particular part. But we're probably around 280, 300.
And the camera that you're using is phenomenal.
Right. Yeah, and that's one of the things I was going to say. It's kind of deceiving in those videos. It would appear that the drone is a lot closer to the site of the call than they actually are. A lot of times they're several blocks away because, yeah, they're right overhead. You can tell when, the TO lowers it down and then, people look up because they can hear it. But from, 4, 5, 6 blocks away, sometimes farther, they haven't perceived the sound. And it's using that Zenmuse camera to get everybody on site.
Phenomenal, amazing that camera is. And so I just want to remind anybody, if you want to ask any questions or anything, also they have put in their contact information in there. A lot of the questions that I had as we were going through, I was like, oh, and your presentation was so phenomenal that you've answered several of them. I do have a few others that I would like to kind of throw out, and I know we're going to be running out of time here, and one of the conversations that you were having was about how you are in coordination with the helicopters and knowing that your drone is in the area. How do you coordinate something like that?
So we have access to our county's law air. And if there is, like recently we had a pursuit of a domestic violence suspect who drove around our city and then went northbound and out of our city. But while he was in our city, we did get assistance from San Diego PD's helicopter. And so they were initially on law air and then they were patched into our frequency. A lot of times they already know we're there because obviously we call daily to let the tower know, we still are doing operations from this time to this time. But we just communicate with them on the air. So when the teleoperator has the headset on, that's the actual dispatch radio channel to be able to talk to whoever they need to talk to. And then we also have law air's channel as well.
And you had mentioned that there's geofencing. Is that something set up special through the teleoperator, or is that something that's already pre-programmed?
That's actually set up by our pilots in command, that they have it all set up. So we have some high structures that are geofenced. We have a section on the older part of the city that has power lines, but that's set up through our pilots in command actually set that up at each launch location.
Awesome. Kim had another question about weapons. Of course, you'd be the one to ask that, right?
I just thought I'd put it out there, like, in the future, have you guys talked about, which I can't imagine that you wouldn't, like weaponizing drones as first responders. And, I know that's a real concern, like Jim says, but, with like smaller things, I guess it could lead to something, but netting, or I watched too many movies. What can I say? I saw like on, Wolverine and, they throw nets out from drones. So I know it's out there. I don't know.
That's a great question. We're in a military town, a lot of military bases that surround us, and we get that question all the time.
Okay.
No plans to weaponize, do anything like that. We do get a lot of presentations from vendors who want to sell us drones, like the fixed wing, and we're like, yes, our community would not. flight.
Yes.
And I was, yeah, and if I can comment on that, because, obviously the idea of the program, as far as the police department is concerned, is the safety. But, myself as a 107 pilot, I really appreciate all of the transparency, because I feel like the program has done a lot to aid in, improving public perception of just the use of drones in general, right? In Chula Vista, obviously everybody's aware that they're there. They see them in the sky, they hear it, they see it on the news. And so the police department's handling of those concerns has been really great. And I can't imagine the turn that would take if they decided to weaponize those drones. So, it really is nice that it's used more as a safety measure than anything else.
I think Tony brings up a great point. I actually lived in the city of Chula Vista. I have for many years. And so even as a citizen myself, I don't know if I feel comfortable with that.
Right.
I know our chief would not feel comfortable with that. It's a de-escalation tool. I mean, it's important that if we don't have to use force, if we have to have an actual officer respond to a call, and we can clear something and go to something that's more important, then that's what we want to do. And that's what that program is about. That's what our program is about, getting the information to the officers so they can make better informed decisions that are safe for the community, safe for us. That it's a win-win. But yeah, we definitely don't want to do that.
You passed the test. You passed the test. I'm certainly not for that. And then last but not least, Tani had said something about the RPIC screening and training. Can you just talk a little bit about that for us?
So when and the staffing is controlled by Flying Line. So we tell them, hey, we need 4 locations, staff 7 days a week. This is what we need. And we work in partner with Flying Lion. So as far as I know, they have their vetting and screening and hiring process. And then once they've passed that Flying Lion, then they have to get vetted and screened through the police department. They actually get through the city of Vista. Because obviously they're managing and operating our city equipment. We want to make sure that everything's good to go. And, some people have passed and some have not. And so it's just another level of a safety level, because we understand this is a huge responsibility, being able to fly a drone and to respond and to have that control over some parts of the airspace. So that's what we do on our part. I'll let Tani talk about Flying Lion's vetting process.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it is, like Miriam says, a huge responsibility, but it's also a really great opportunity, because not many pilots have, the ability to fly under the waivers that the police department has currently, whether it's the BVLOS or the dual operation system. So, we really look for pilots that understand the safety aspect of the program, that have a sense of responsibility and the experience and comfort level to be able to troubleshoot. Because while the TO is in the office dispatching the calls, the conditions of the drone and the maintenance of the drone and the awareness of the airspace is completely up to the pilot in command. So you really have to have a good sense for what is going to impact or potentially impact a flight. Communication is really, really important as well, because we're on the radio. It's a live radio with a link with the TO. They're in an office, but we're standing on the roof. We're seeing what's going on. We're monitoring the calls, as well as in addition to the equipment and the software readings. So what Flying Lion does require, right? We'd like to have 50 hours minimum before the first flight out, and pilots are on the roof by themselves. You have to be comfortable, obviously, with monitoring any of the readings of the drone itself, and have a good working knowledge of how to troubleshoot. Right? You can't be afraid of the equipment. You also can't be completely oblivious to the things that could go wrong. So we do training. We've got a training program right now that we're working on developing. That's kind of what brought me in, since I have still a semi-broken wing. So we are going to be working on implementing some additional training that's really of value, because we understand nobody comes in to the program with the software experience. It's very unique and specific to the police department. The majority of pilots, don't come in as well with a lot of matrice experience. So we give them the opportunity to do that. But we really are looking for people who are interested in gaining that experience and helping contribute to develop the program and work through those different system changes as they happen.
That's awesome. And I just wanted to bring that up because always looking for opportunity for people to fly professionally with drones. So, you guys know that, if you are a safety conscious kind of person, and that's something, there's some people that just love that safety stuff. And I mean, right, hint, hint, but and some people that really don't. So hint, hint. So we hang out with the safety people. But anyway, so that's great. Thank you so much for sharing that. And she left her information on there if anybody would like to reach out to her just to tap and see what the possibilities are. So thank you so much, ladies. I got the big hook from my co-star and my partner, not in crime, I'm going to say, because we have officers on here. But yeah, thank you so much. That was a great presentation, and really just a real, I just can't say enough about the awareness that drones bring to communities, to our country, to the world. And once again, what I say always, the more aware we are in life, the more present we are. And the more present we are, the more productive we are, right? So this is awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you for sharing. Thank everybody for coming today. It was just a really, really good show, and just love what you're doing. So thank you.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much.
All right. That hour went fast.
It sure did. So much for breakout sessions. You guys we had our own little mini breakout sessions. So thank you so much. It was awesome. Great to see everybody in your smiling faces. Stay healthy.
That kind of wraps it up.